The budget also happens to be a marker for the NDP's supply and confidence agreement with the Liberals. That agreement was struck exactly 1 year ago. Will the feds meet enough NDP demands to keep the Prime Minister in power until that agreement expires in 2025? With me now, NDP Leader Jagmeet Singh. Hi, Mr. Singh.
Hi there.
Good to welcome you back in studio. I appreciate you making the time. The Finance Minister has said that she wants to exercise fiscal restraint in this budget. Should she?
Well, it depends on what we mean by that. We need to make sure that we're helping people save money. And that's something really important. We hope this budget saves people money. That's why we think the dental program is going to save families $1,200 per year and help people with their health. We want to see the GST rebate extended to help people with their groceries, to save some money and have some of their own money back in their pockets. But we should express or should have some restraint when it comes to things like fossil fuel subsidies, which are billions of dollars going to already profitable oil and gas companies. I don't think we can afford to do things like that. I don't think we can afford to continue to allow tax loopholes that lose billions of dollars of revenue that we could be spending on dealing with the crisis that we're up against.
Do you concede, though, that the asks that you have on the spending side of the equation, so for example, pharmacare and dental care, yes, eventually they will save Canadians money, but the outset initially is big, right? It's a lot of money that you're asking the government to spend. What the Finance Minister has said is basically, if you spend too much, you're going to counter what the Bank of Canada is attempting to do with interest rates, and you're going to kind of throw oil on the fire. Do you concede, I'll circle back, that what you're asking them to do raises the risk of that happening?
Well, it depends, again, on the way it's done. If there's a measure that gives money to everybody, that absolutely is inflationary. What we're proposing are targeted measures. And many economists have said targeted measures are, in fact, needed to help soften the blow that people are experiencing with high interest rates and the high cost of living. We do need targeted measures, and many have advised that that is the right thing to do to soften the landing when it comes to the high budget constraints on people. People can't afford their groceries, can't afford their bills, and that a targeted way to help people save money is actually the right thing to do.
I get that when it comes to the GST rebate, for example, or even dental care if it's limited to people earning less than $90,000. But in the case of pharmacare, I mean, you're looking at, depending on the analysis, anywhere from 11 to $15 billion a year. I know that the argument is, and I understand it, that it will save Canadians money over the long term. But do you admit that maybe that money is better placed, maybe that investment is better placed in later years when we aren't dealing with the inflationary situation we are right now?
Well, I do think of pharmacare as an investment in a healthcare system where we are losing money because people don't take medication because they can't afford it, and then end up getting more and more sick, and then end up with an extreme case of that illness in an emergency room. And that could be prevented if people took the medication if they could afford it. Every other country in the world has pharmacare included into their healthcare system if it's universal, because they figured it out. It only makes sense. But our ask this year, or this year, is to have the Pharmacare Act, the legislation in place, not the full plan. That's going to take some more time.
So you're okay with that coming in later years?
Well,
how much later?
According to our agreement, it wouldn't come in this year. This year will be the Pharmacare Act, which is the legislative framework as laid out by the government's own Hoskins report. So the framework for pharmacare to make sure we can move forward with it. The next year would be the bulk purchasing and the formulary. So the steps needed to get to that final point of a pharmacare program. That's still going to take a couple of years, though.
You talked this week, and you had mentioned the agreement, and it's been basically exactly a year since you struck that agreement with the Liberals. You know, there's all this sort of secondary. There's another story going on here about foreign interference and the way in which the government plans to investigate it. I know you've been pushing for a public inquiry. You said this week that another election right now would leave voters with the same concerns that they have over elections interference. Is it safe to assume that without an inquiry, you aren't willing to trigger another election?
Well, I'm worried about what the foreign interference implications are on people's voting. People already feel apathetic about voting. What's the point to vote? I want to encourage people to vote, and hearing about all this interference, I'm sure is not going to encourage people to want to get out and vote more. It'll make people feel suspicious or worried about voting, and I really want to restore confidence. And it's why we've said our approach was not one to score points. Like, I'm willing to fight the Prime Minister on the fact that he doesn't support public universal health care, but I don't want to use foreign interference as an opportunity to fight the government. I want to find out what actually happened so we can prevent it. And so I've really taken an approach when it comes to foreign interference that let's step back, get away from the partisanship, and use an independent, transparent process to figure out what happened so we can reassure Canadians for the next election.
But does that mean if Canadians are not reassured, if that doesn't happen? Because the possibility exists based on the process the government has set up, that Mr. Johnston says, David Johnston says, an inquiry is not necessary. It's not the right mechanism. Are you willing to concede that that might be the case, or do you need to see an inquiry before you're prepared to trigger another election?
I'll break it down into two parts. One is, I think no matter what Mr. Johnston rules, I still believe a public inquiry is necessary to restore the public's confidence. There's a lot of things that have been leaked to the public, and we need to now respond to those questions in the public to give people some confidence. And I think it's only highlighted how important a public inquiry is. So I would maintain that position no matter what Mr. Johnston says. I think that is the only way to really restore confidence, some public forum. And then in terms of the next election, we've not made that decision, when we'll go to election.
But it's not predicated on whether or not there's an inquiry or whether those questions are answered? Because you seem this week like you didn't want to trigger one if those questions still existed.
I would put it this way. My priority is having a public inquiry. My priority isn't triggering an election. My priority is let's get to the truth rather than triggering an election. That's the way I would put it.
Do you have any, as you look back on the last year and you look at the agreement as it stands, do you have any regrets about it?
I feel really, really proud of the fact that we've been able to do so much. We're the fourth party in Parliament, and we're going to expand our healthcare system for the first time in a historic way to include dental care for millions of people. That's something I'm really proud of. But I'm not satisfied with it. Maybe that's a better way to put it. I'm not satisfied because I don't want to just push government. I want to be the one making the decisions for the interests of people. And having been in a position where I can actually influence decisions, I've seen how much better we would do if we were the ones calling the shots. And so it's led me to not be satisfied with the position I'm in. I want to be the Prime Minister, but I'm proud of the work we've done.
Do you feel that coming to that agreement now and the way in which it's lasted a year, I take your point, you have pushed the government to do certain things, but do you feel that it has impacted the way in which Canadians view the probability or possibility of you being Prime Minister? Like, do they see you as propping up the government and not someone who can form it?
I want to make the argument that we've often run on ideas like dental care. We ran on that idea in 2019 when we got elected with that as the mandate of the 24 in 2019 and then 25 MPs in 2021. That was something we ran on, and now we're showing not only can we run on a good idea, we can actually achieve it. And I'm hoping
to Canadians. But the Liberals
can
take credit for it.
But this is one of those things that's very clear that the Liberals voted against it twice. They said no to it. They were opposed to it. This isn't a they were going to do it eventually. This is a they were opposed to it. They voted against it, and we forced them to do it. So I think on this point, it's very clear that we can show Canadians that we made them do this. If you like our ideas, and I've always had doubts if we can implement them, we've now shown you we can actually get them done as well. I'm hoping that it gives Canadians confidence in us that New Democrats will fight for us and they'll deliver for us.
Okay, I'm out of time. I'm going to leave it there. Mr. Singh, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.